evening, podsters and podlars, and welcome to Cazza and Tracy Talk Gavin and Stacey. I'm Tracy.
And I'm Caroline.
And we're friends who, like Gavin and Stacey, met online in the noughties. We connected over small humour, over how life is funny in the minutiae of things, and we also found that we like to read and watch many of the same things. And one of those things was Gavin and Stacey, which is also a show celebrating small humour, as well as kindness and bluster, and people being magnificently themselves in all their flawed glory. And now that the show is having its one last hurrah with a final Christmas special, we thought we'd rewatch it all, remind ourselves why we loved it, and find out whether we still do. Let's begin with Tracy's Pracy of Season 2, Episode 2, and we are still in the scene from the end of the last episode. Everyone's having dinner at Capriccio's, and Nessa has just told Smithy she's pregnant. Smithy is understandably shocked at this news, especially because, one, he finds out that she got pregnant from the time at Pam and Mick's, which was, they both agree, rubbish, and two, he's upset because it's clear everyone else has found out before he has. He channels his feelings by getting angry at Gavin and storms out of Capriccio's. Mick, Gavin and Bryn drive around looking for Smithy. Bryn is in his absolute element as he feels like he's on patrol with the police and then goes through the drive-through where Smithy's sister works. Meanwhile, Pam's got everyone at home serving drinks. They're talking about where Nessa is going to live, and this is the beginning of one of the series' big storylines when Gwen offers Stacey's room to Nessa now that Stacey has moved out. We get the first glimpse of how Stacey really feels about moving into the Shipmans. The search party finds Smithy at the driving range. They bring him home where Smithy starts proposing to Nessa and everyone is unanimous in telling him to stop. Everyone stays the night at the Shipmans. The next morning it's time to get all of Stacey's things off the truck before Nessa, Gwen and Bryn go back to Wales. There's one really small scene inside that I want to mention because it's a moment between Nessa and Smithy, which I think might be one of the first on-screen conversations we ever see them have. That's just the two of them. Everything is off the truck. The Welsh family say goodbye to Stacey, which is pretty heartbreaking. Stacey is left in Essex with the Shipmans, while Bryn and Gwen have a melancholy trip home. We end with Pam asking Stacey what she'd like for tea and Stacey asking for an omelette. So
that was heartbreaking, that scene. And I guess for context, you have to know that Gwen has a joke almost every episode about cooking people omelettes. That's what she does. She's really good at omelettes. And I think it's all she everybody ever loves her omelettes. So it's so sad.
So what's this episode about for you?
It's about Smithy's reaction to the news of fatherhood and how that falls out. But I think the other thing is, as you sort of alluded to there, is that it's setting up the Barry-Essex divide and maybe how difficult it is to move away from your home environment and set up life somewhere else. And really good writing. They don't fluff over it, and they let Stacey have her feels about it, and they let her behave badly. I think in less skilled hands, she'd just have moved down and got on with her life. But in fact, there is a big thing, especially moving in with your in-laws, even as benevolent in-laws as Pam and Mick are. And then also the male support network, which is kind of nice. You know, the way that Mick and Bryn and Gav are all there for Smithy and gather him up. And I don't know that you ever really hear about Smithy's dad. So he's surrounded himself with good male friends and mentors, and it's an important arc, I think, in the whole Gavin and Stacey thing. What about you?
Yeah, no, exactly. It's Smithy coming to terms with the pregnancy and then, the reality of Stacey's new situation. You know, she's married to the man she loves, which is obviously all she ever wanted was to get married. Yeah. But the truth about being separated from her family and just as much being away from home. What about, was there anything in this episode that was troubling you, cringy, problematic?
Yeah, there were a few things in this one for me. So we're in the hunt for Smithy when they're driving around. They want to know why Gav doesn't go to Lucy's house, his underage girlfriend. And it transpires that Gavin, A, doesn't know her surname and B, doesn't know where she lives. So Smithy's been in a relationship for a long time with this girl as far as I know. And Gavin's only met her twice. And it just, all of that sort of, it just feels like there's been this very groomed,
yeah.
I don't know.
No,
well,
it
I think
gets
probably
worse.
She keeps it all at distance too, but it's just I didn't enjoy. There's a couple of other little things. There's this. They keep talking about how huge Ness is going to be when she's pregnant. Imagine that pregnant. Oh, you're going to be huge. And it's just, I know that they're doing it from a point that Alison Steadman, James Cordman and Ruth Jones have all come from a sort of a series called Fat Friends. They're all writers of size, and so they're going to put in as many fat jokes and discuss those things. But I didn't like the Amsterdam/sex worker jokes, and I can't remember what that is. And then there's also stuff about Stacey's dad and that maybe his behaviour turned Stacey's brother Jason gay, which I also thought was a bit problematic. So I just hit 4 things very quickly then. So if there's any that you want to
it's true.
Jump in on.
I thought the gay conversation was really weird. Yeah. And
listen, it's sort of very true to what people, that I've heard family members of mine, especially the older generation, when Pam says things like gay or lesbian gay and all that sort of thing. Like it just, so much of that rings true. So
yeah, I think it rings true, but yeah, I did feel a bit uncomfortable with that. I think this was the moment where I really thought the Lucy stuff was off, because it transpires Gavin does know she's not 18 and there's still none of them say anything like, what?
Yep. Going back to Stacey's gay brother, that there's this discussion that maybe the fact that Stacey's had a terrible father who he wasn't, according to Gwen, father material, what with the drugs and the orgies and the robberies, and he resented not being free when she got pregnant and took it out on Jason, and the subtext of that was that might have turned him gay, and it's just like, it feels wrong to say turned him gay.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like Jason is what he is.
Agreed. I don't think it would be there if it was being written now somehow, but you can't really speculate on that. So
queer person on the writing team, maybe that would have been, I don't know.
So in terms of character development, I think this is really one of the most significant episodes we've seen yet. So I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on whether we agree on this.
There is this moment where Smithy has to put on his big boy pants, right? He's gone off and he's had a massive tantrum. Then he has some introspection, and then he listens to what the men friend who have come around and said to him, and then he kind of braces himself and he goes forward, extends the hand of, I don't know, we're in this together to Ness, and I think that's a good moment. Is that what you were?
It is. I think it's the first piece of insight we see from him when he kind of says, well, I can't be a dad, look at me. And then he says, if I'm going to be a dad, I'm going to be a proper dad. That has obviously been something that doesn't just happen. That's obviously been inside him waiting to happen. I did really like that. And then also I thought in terms of character, it is the first time we see Stacey. There's a lot going on for her, and we see what a test of character it's going to be, her new life's going to be for her. I really felt for Stacey in this episode.
Oh, yeah. Oh, she's very good, isn't she, Joanna Page? Like the little tears coming into her bright blue eyes.
Yeah.
And she's so rude to Pam and Gwen about it, but that feels very true. She is a sort of spoilt little princess in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I think that, we haven't had a Christmas special yet, have we?
No.
Oh, have we?
No,
anyway, there's some moment where there's all the presents and she said, is that all right or do I look spoiled?
Oh,
yeah,
no, yeah.
I can't remember if that's happened now or not.
No.
But, yeah, it's sad. It's hard for her, and it would be hard moving in with the in-laws.
Oh, my God. It would really. However nice. Yeah. No, it's really tough. So there's that. Was there anything really that tugged on your heartstrings in this episode?
So there's a lovely moment when Stacey tells Bryn that she loves him. That's right at the end.
Yeah.
And he can't even deal with that. Like there's
just walks away.
Feeling.
Yeah.
Oh, and obviously that moment when he shakes Ness's hand and says, like I'm going to do it properly and I'll give you money if you need it. And then they shake hands on it as equals. And they've both been so disparaging about each other before then. And then also I loved Mick and Gav looking after Smithy. It was so lovely. Yeah.
Mick really comes to the party, reassuring him no one knows how to be a parent. And that conversation between Nessa and Smithy I thought was really quite profound, and they don't like each other, but they're two people, in a situation neither of them expected to be in, both a bit lost, but it's really clear that they will be there for each other, respectfully there for each other. And then
Absolutely.
I found Stacey's goodbyes achingly beautiful.
Yeah, so good.
So what was your favourite joke?
I did laugh out loud when it's revealed to Smithy that it wasn't, where he tries to blame Gavin for the pregnancy because Gavin made him go to Leicester Square, and then it's revealed that it was the shag in the backyard that caused it. At that point, everyone, he misses it completely, but everyone, even Gwen, knows about the backyard shag. And, I think to that point, Smithy remains oblivious to the fact that they were so
got away with it.
about it, and everyone knew. And then he says, "But that doesn't count. It was rubbish." I don't know. It just made me laugh.
I did thought that was very good. And she goes, "Yeah, I know, but apparently the quality of it doesn't."
And then again, it's that whole Lucy situation is that Lucy being grounded, except for horse-based.
Horse-based events. Yeah.
Horse-based events. That did make me laugh, even though very problematic. Did I mention that I didn't like Nessa's big sexy kicks on Nick?
Yeah. Well, I'm actually going to talk about that in my favourite joke or line because I'm not sure. Like in some ways I thought, that's really inappropriate, but I really loved the way it's turned that whole drunk uncle trope right on its head. She's just like men have got away with behaving badly all their lives. Like I'm not sure whether I love it or hate it. But my favourite line is actually one of Nessa's. Smithy comes back and he gets down on his knee and he's about to propose, and then everybody says, "Don't do that." And he's like, "Yeah, well, I wouldn't," and then there's this whole barrage of insults that he gives. And she just points at him and says, "Don't diss me in front of other people." And I thought, oh, man, and it's not just don't diss me, it's don't diss me in front of other people.
Yeah.
It was such a rich line, I thought.
Yeah.
I know she really stands up for herself, but it was really a big articulation of what she's about. And I just loved that they'd said in front of other people. It was a good line.
Yeah, I hadn't even really taken that. There's a couple of jokes around her living with the little Welsh from Hearsay. And because I wasn't really into boy banding, I had to look it up. So she does do a little joke about one of their songs. And then quotes a few lines, whatever I do, whatever I decide,
right. Yeah.
Pure and simple. Just that whole thing about that boy bands lyrics being quoted in meaningful situations, especially by the people who write those lyrics. It's just hilarious. And also there's just a very minor joke, but that's a long-running one about how hot the hot apple pies from Macca's are.
Oh, yeah, that was nice. And because it was sort of wrapped in that nice caringness of, you don't bite it. It's very hot. Yeah, it was lovely.
Yeah. And just a quick fact, which you may or may not have known, is that in the scene where they're getting the hot apple pie from the driveway, the person who is serving on the driveway before they get Smithy's younger sister, Rudy, is James Corden's actual sister. She got a little cameo part. And if you go back and look at it, you can see they look very much alike.
Yeah, now that you say it, right. I was wondering why I was like, what is that? Why is she doing that?
James Corden's actual sister. Is this the first time we see Rudy Smith, Smithy's sister? Well, we haven't met her before, have we?
I think we, now I can't remember.
My God, I love her so much.
Yeah, she's great.
Such a good character. She's a fantastic actress as well. Sheridan Smith, who actually is a Smithy.
All right, well, now we get to the question. And again, I've forgotten what question I was going to ask you. So we're supposed to be asking questions to see how well we've been watching. Oh, no, I remember what my question is. I was going to ask you, can you remember when they go back after Capriccio's and all the girls go back to have a drink? Can you remember what Stacey asks for?
So Pam wants a brandy. Nessa asks if there's any alcohol in Bailey's. I cannot remember what state. No, you got me there.
Oh my gosh, this might be the first one. It's a dry sherry.
Of course.
Yeah. And I was like,
who drinks sherry? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried sherry?
I have.
It's awful.
Yeah.
Do you like it?
No, I mean, I haven't had one for 20 years or 30 years or whatever.
Yeah. I remember my parents, that's what everyone, if they had dinner parties, they'd come around and everyone got a sherry to start with. I had a mouthful of it recently and went,
It's quite rich, rank. Isn't it? Like it's syrupy, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, can you remember there's a lot of stuff. Stacey brings a lot of stuff, and that's about where's it going to go and whether it should go back, but it can't go back, and what can get sent to the op shop. What does get sent to the op shop in the end? Or
there's the giraffe, but that doesn't. But is it the foot spa? But it can't go because it's.
But it can't go.
Yeah,
they won't take it. They won't touch it. Yeah. So there was just all this stuff, and just one. The only thing she decided to get rid of was one little foot spa.
I really felt for Stacey. You know, they put up the back of the truck and all her stuff is there. And it's quite exposing, you know, she's exposed and it's ridiculous because there's this huge stuffed giraffe. Well,
just her feeling that Gwen couldn't get, because, you know, like I've got one child who's moved out of home, but we've got quite a bit of his stuff still.
Yeah.
And I think it would be kind of mean to say, well, I'm chucking it out. He might want it one day, you know.
All right, so we end episode 2. We've got Nessa's pregnancy still front and centre, but there's a lot more certainty around it now, and we know that this is just the beginning for Stacey as she tries to make sense of her new life. So we're ready for episode 3. We'll be back next week.
Are.
Talk to you then.
Talk to you then.
Okay, bye.